Yep. 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 Well, it seems I can do the yep as well as anyone, but in this case I'm afraid this select test has just died. I was just getting ready to finish it off actually, and went to measure 1.5 volts on it. I'm getting absolutely nothing. I measured some of the core resistances, and this one here, which I believe is first in the chain, is actually open. I think this one these two are open as well, and a couple of these are short. So this looks like the end, and I'm certainly going to have to take a lot of time to try and get some real precision resistors here to try and match the ones that are open up. Now what slightly concerns me is I have put this one here is 13R, so I have put a 15R resistor across it, and nothing changed. So I'm now just wondering whether the meter is open, in which case this is the end of this totally. But it isn't flopping around like you'd expect. It's still, you know, a quarter of the scale on a shake like that is pretty good, and that, you know, if it was an open meter it might go all the way over a bit, so I'm not sure. So whatever I do, I'm going to have to replace some of these bobbins in here, but I'm not 100% sure. It's almost as if nothing's getting through. I have actually put 9 volts up it and then tried to measure it on the end of some of these bobbins, and it is getting through. There is voltage inside here, which you'd expect to see. But I don't have a circuit diagram for this, so I can't see which one really is the first in the chain. I assume it is this one, and it's getting passed off down here, but then it sort of stops, and whether I've prodded a break open, so prodded a dodgy solder joint open or something, I don't know. With this you have to take the meter out, remove the scale plate, and obviously be very careful of that needle, and all these bobbins are secured with captive nuts to this Bakelite here, and obviously I would need to get pretty much all of them out at the same time just to work on them because of all this lovely lacing, and I don't want to undo that really. But anyway, the meter itself is looking more resplendent, so I'm going to show you what I did to the meter anyway, and just include those clips. But for now, until I can get some precision resistors and stuff, that's the end of this one. I might come back at a later date and update it, show you how far I got, if I managed to fix it. But as for now, you can say goodbye to this one. Right, I assume you can see the dial. I'm looking through the camera viewfinder and I can just see it a little bit, but obviously it's a little 2x1 screen, or whatever it is, 2-3 inches by 1.5 inch screen. So I've got an AD584 reference here. I'm going to stick it onto volts. I know how to work AVO meters very well, but this one is new. So that's on the voltage DC 15 volt scale, and I'm just going to connect my voltage reference up So the first thing it should go to is 2.5 volts. Oh, there we go, and that's the upper scale. So you've got a 1.5, 15 and 150 volt scale up at the top there, and the bottom scale looks like the 7.5 volt AC, 75 volt AC and 750 volt DC range, and that also works for the current as well. That's interesting. So that's round about 2.5, that's pretty good. Next is 5, that's pretty good. That is almost... Hello and welcome back to part 2 of this Selectest test meter D3. I wasn't going to show the next bit because it is quite complicated, and you do have the massive opportunity of trashing your meter forever. What I'm going to do is balance the meter. Now, this is quite an undertaking, it shouldn't be taken lightly, and as I just said, you can trash your meter really quickly. Now this thing is zeroing perfectly on the 0, but when I raise it to the horizontal position you can see it dips quite a lot. Now there is a little bit of tolerance in the meters, I believe it's about 3%, but that, as it is now, is quite a way out. You can see it's getting worse. Now on the bottom of the meter here, and I'm going to use a paintbrush to point, there's a tail weight, and as you can see weight's been added to it. On either side of the needle there is, in the form of a crucifix, there's 2 side weights, and if I just bring this round slightly, hopefully it's going to appear from out under here. You can see a little bit of wire. If I just there, there's a little bit of wire been wrapped around the side weight there. Now the process for this is to zero it when the meter's horizontal, and then we tip it this way. As you can see, with the 0 pointing down, the meter needle is now moving up. This is not easy to film. As you can see, it's just rising up past 0, and then we're going to do it like this, the other way around, but that way around. And as you can see on that side, it's gone back below 0. So we're going to add some weight and see what it does. Now I'm going to use acrylic paint because I can remove it. They used to use shellac, or as in here lead weight, or nail varnish. Now shellac and nail varnish are going to be pretty hard to remove, so I'm using acrylic paint, hopefully to get it back in balance. Now it's quite an undertaking, as I say. It's going to take me a long old time to do this, going back and forward, so I shall start it off and see where we end up, and hopefully you can see this. If not, I'm going to bring the camera down, I think, so you can see it a little bit better. I'm going to adjust it. Just swing it round. There, right. So the meter needle's that way, so you think you need a bit less weight on here. So as you can see, I need the meter needle to move that way a bit, so I might put more weight on here, that side, and let's see what it does. So I've used quite a heavy paint here. It is an acrylic, it's nice and pink, it's quite gloopy. but I should be able to remove it. If things start going wrong. Now if I've got it wrong and it starts going the other way, I need to quickly get it off. And just check again. And I probably need some on the tail weight here. This is going to be a long old process, so I'm going to stop filming because I'm reaching from behind the camera here and it's making things very awkward. I don't want to mess it up. So when I've completed it, I shall come back. As I say, really important, I don't want you to mess your own AVO meters up or anything just by doing this. I've done this several times before. By all means, if you've got an AVO meter that's absolutely rubbish and cracked and you know you're going to throw it out, just have a practice, but don't go in on a fully working meter and think you'll be able to fix it, because it is very hard. So as I say, I'm going to end it here and I'm going to fiddle about with this for the next hour probably, just trying to get it the meter movement in complete balance. Right, I just thought I'd bring you in here. I've removed the paint from the tail weight that I added because it was clear the meter needle wanted to go that way and it was in fact pointing up this way. So on the cruciform here, and as you can see there's a little bit of pink paint there at 11 o'clock. So as I say, you've got the tail weight here which is attached all the way through to the meter needle, and you've got two little cruciform arms either side. This one's at 11 o'clock. I've removed the paint from there and added some paint and two little bits of solder because it was clear the paint alone wasn't going to bring the meter needle down. So I've added two little bits of solder and that's brought it just past, well, it's pretty much bang on zero now. So as the solvents evaporate from the paint, it should bring it just up to the zero. So that is a good job so far. I'm just going to check, which you won't see because I've got the camera down low, how it reacts when the meter is horizontal, which is how it should be used of course. And it is bang on zero. So that is a success so far. I'm going to leave it like this for a bit and I'm going to have a cup of tea, and we're going to come back when the paint has hardened off a bit. So obviously as the paint evaporates it's going to get lighter on this cruciform bit here, on that cruciform bit, and the needle's going to swing upwards again slightly, very slightly. There. And then we're going to check it in the other plane, which I could do now actually. So the other plane would be vertical, but like this. Well, I don't know if you can see that. Let me bring the camera up a touch just quickly. There, I think that says it all. It's bang on zero. Job done, methinks. So now I've got the meter or the movement balanced, I'm just going to go in with an acrylic rod. Oops, if I can get it in camera. With an acrylic rod with a bit of blue tack on the end. I'm just going to clean out any bits of swarf that I can see and any bits of dust. There's a bit just gone off that screw head. also gonna just knead it slightly, so I'm just gonna knead those bits into the blue tack a bit. And I've got my magnifying glass here, which you probably can't see, or just see the edge of, so I can actually see what I'm doing. So just around here. Now you do not want to put any downward pressure on the needle here, and I'm just going around and just picking out odd bits of dust that I can see. And you do not want to touch that hairspring. That is, but you can see, or hopefully you can see. Get to one side, maybe you can't, how dirty that blue tack is. Just do not touch anything to do with the rotating bit. Right, now using the same thing as we had before, which is a bit of blue stick on an acrylic rod, I'm just going to try and just clean up this mirror a bit. And the reason we're using an acrylic rod is we don't want anything remotely magnetic to get near this, get near the actual movement. So we're just going to clean up the dial scale a bit now. Sorry, this mirror, the parallax mirror. Now you could just get some brasso or something in here. But I'm just going to use this just to clean it up a bit, and that's already started getting how many years of dirt and tarnish off it. Right, the next stage in the restoration of this meter is going to be refilling all this missing white paint infill here. I just want to show you, hopefully you can see, the meter is now resting dead on zero when it's vertical, and obviously dead on zero when it's horizontal. Perfect. So, to get all this old white paint out, I'm going to use a pin, sewing pin, reversed in this chuck, and I'm just going to get all the old filth out of all this lettering, like that. And it'll probably take a few goes, so the easiest ones to do are these straight lines. The hardest ones to do are going to be all the individual letters and numbers, like here. So I'm going to continue doing this because it's going to take me a good half hour, I would think, to get all the paint out and all the grease and everything and dust and dirt that's been embedded in there for the last 80 years, and then I'll come back and we'll start in filling all the missing paint. Right, so most of the paint, in fact if not all of it, is out of the grooves. There seems to be some there, but it's actually out. And I've mixed up two acrylic colours, mainly white, and I'm just going to hit it with a little bit of tan just to knock that white back a little bit. And all I'm going to do, and I'm using windscreen wash as a thinner, I'm just going to give it a first dab. And if you think I'm painting each individual letter, you're going to be wrong. I'm just doing this. So the object of this is just to fill. And then I'll show you in a minute what it looks like. Right, the paint's all in and thoroughly dried now. So what I'm going to do is take everyone's favourite credit card or debit card, or in this case Amazon gift card, and then just do that. It's best to try and do it at a bit of an angle like that, but you'll see it's starting to take all the excess paint out because it's so flat. And undoubtedly I will need to go over this again. But you get the idea. There. If the paint is not dry, it will pull out of the grooves.